So I actually thought this was Amy Poehler's feature-length debut as a director, but apparently it's not. She's done a couple of movies before, but I'd never even heard of them. Now what I have heard of is Parks and Recreations, which is a great TV show. And she's a star of that, and my experience of her work is primarily based on that. I haven't really seen her in that many different things, especially in major roles. But from what I've seen, I know she's a hilarious comedic actor, and I usually do like her on screen. However, what can she do behind the camera, with a movie of her own to direct? Well, I would say that she handled her part well enough, and the direction wasn't really a problem at all. She didn't really do anything particularly great that would have stood out to me, but she did a solid job and nothing about the visual presentation bothered me. Neither did her character. In fact, she was easily the funniest part of the entire thing. So all in all, I can't really complain about her involvement in the project. However, there are a number of other things that did hold this thing back quite a bit. I would say the major issue causing most of the problems being the character writing. Because most characters in this are just pretty flat and one-dimensional, which usually isn't a huge issue as long as the main character is at least compelling. But that's probably the biggest problem here. She's just not very compelling or interesting. In fact, this is one of the blandest, most vanilla protagonists I've seen in quite a while. And I do get that that's sort of the point in a way. She represents the average person. Not one of the cool kids at school, or one of the outcasts that get bullied and picked on. Just an average kid that kind of blends in and doesn't draw attention to themselves. However, let's be real here, average people aren't really that interesting either. Which is why if you want an average person to be the protagonist of your story, they at least need to do something remarkable and out of the ordinary. Either that or you have to find ways to make them interesting anyway. Which this doesn't. It goes more for the does something remarkable route, which is fine. And the story does become more about the thing she does than the character herself. And again, that might have partially been intentional, but it doesn't really change the fact that, well, she's still a very boring protagonist that has virtually no captivating aspects to her. And that is unfortunate because at its core this is a movie with clearly good intentions. It's just a positive movie that wants to do something good, and I feel kinda bad not being able to praise it more. Because yeah, as a whole this was just completely average and forgettable to me. Not awful, to be fair. I didn't actually outright dislike many things about it. But other than the positivity, it occasionally being somewhat funny, and the character was set that was actually rather interesting and compelling, I just don't have a lot of praise to give it, and as a result I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to give this a solid 5. Boop. But would I recommend it? Not really, but I wouldn't necessarily discourage you from watching it either. So you know, maybe skip it or maybe don't. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel because that'd be fantastic.